Long before Nigeria became one nation, powerful kingdoms ruled across the land. Among them was a mysterious and mighty empire known as the Kwararafa Confederacy, a union of many tribes, led by the brave and warlike Jukuan people. The Jukuan people lived in what is today Taraba State, around the region of Wakari. Their capital was Kwararafa, a great city that became the center of trade, religion, and military power in the middle belt of what is now Nigeria. According to oral traditions, the Jukuan trace their origin to the ancient Kano and Bornu regions, while others say they centuries. What is clear, however, is that by the 14th century, the Jukuan had become one of the most organized and feared powers in all of West Africa. The Kwararafa Confederacy wasn't just a single tribe. It was a collection of allied groups and smaller kingdoms that came together for protection, trade, and conquest. The Jukuan, being the strongest among them, became the leaders. They built an impressive military system and were known for their iron weapons, horsemen, and brave warriors who could march across long distances. From their capital, the Jukuan launched military campaigns against many neighboring kingdoms. They fought powerful empires like the Bornu Empire in the northeast and the Hausa states in the north. In fact, Hausa records tell of several invasions by Kwararafa warriors, fierce men who struck quickly and vanished just as fast. Even mighty Kano, Zaza, and Katsina once felt their thunder. But Kwararafa was not all about war. They also built a rich culture and religion centered around the Aku Uka, the sacred king of the Jukuan people. The Aku Uka was both a political ruler and a spiritual leader, believed to be chosen by the gods. Under his leadership, the people celebrated grand festivals, practiced advanced farming, and traded goods such as salt, cloth, and slaves with faraway lands. However, as the centuries passed, the Kwararafa Confederacy began to weaken. Internal divisions, power struggles, and constant wars drained its strength. The rise of new empires like Sokoto and Bornu further reduced its influence. By the 18th century, Kwararafa had slowly disintegrated, leaving behind smaller Jukuan kingdoms scattered across the Benue Valley. Today, the descendants of those ancient Jukuan people still live in Taraba State, where the Aku Uka of Wukari remains a respected traditional ruler. Though the mighty confederacy has long faded, its legacy remains strong, a reminder that long before colonial times, Nigeria already had advanced systems of governance, trade, and culture. The story of the Jukuan and Kwararafa Confederacy is a story of unity, power, and heritage, one that shows how diverse peoples once came together to build a civilization that shaped the history of central Nigeria. This is Nigerian history, where we bring forgotten stories of our past back to life. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because our history deserves to be told. Long before Nigeria became one nation, powerful kingdoms ruled across the land. Among them was a mysterious and mighty empire known as the Kwararafa Confederacy, a union of many tribes, led by the brave and warlike Jukuan people. The Jukuan people lived in what is today Taraba State, around the region of Wakari. Their capital was Kwararafa, a great city that became the center of trade, religion, and military power in the middle belt of what is now Nigeria. According to oral traditions, the Jukuan trace their origin to the ancient Kano and Bornu regions, while others say they came from the east or Egypt, moving southward over many centuries. What is clear, however, is that by the 14th century, the Jukuan had become one of the most organized and feared powers in all of West Africa. The Kwararafa Confederacy wasn't just a single tribe. It was a collection of allied groups and smaller kingdoms that came together for protection, trade, and conquest. The Jukuan, being the strongest among them, became the leaders. They built an impressive military system and were known for their iron weapons, horsemen, and brave warriors who could march across long distances. From their capital, the Jukuan launched military campaigns against many neighboring kingdoms. They fought powerful empires like the Bornu Empire in the northeast and the Hausa states in the north. In fact, Hausa records tell of several invasions by Kwararafa warriors, fierce men who struck quickly and vanished just as fast. Even mighty Kano, Zaza, and Katsina once felt their thunder. But Kwararafa was not all about war. They also built a rich culture and religion centered around the Aku Uka, the sacred king of the Jukuan people. The Aku Uka was both a political ruler and a spiritual leader, believed to be chosen by the gods. Under his leadership, the people celebrated grand festivals, practiced advanced farming, and traded goods such as salt, cloth, and slaves with faraway lands. However, as the centuries passed, the Kwararafa Confederacy began to weaken. Internal divisions, power struggles, and constant wars drained its strength. The rise of new empires like Sokoto and Bornu further reduced its influence. By the 18th century, Kwararafa had slowly disintegrated, leaving behind smaller Jukuan kingdoms scattered across the Benue Valley. Today, the descendants of those ancient Jukuan people still live in Taraba State, where the Aku Uka of Wukari remains a respected traditional ruler. Though the mighty confederacy has long faded, its legacy remains strong, a reminder that long before colonial times, Nigeria already had advanced systems of governance, trade, and culture. The story of the Jukuan and Kwararafa Confederacy is a story of unity, power, and heritage, one that shows how diverse peoples once came together to build a civilization that shaped the history of central Nigeria. This is Nigerian history, where we bring forgotten stories of our past back to life. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because our history deserves to be told.
An eminent chief of the land has passed on to join his ancestors. Long been buried, and this multitude of bare-bodied mourners have all gathered according to an age-long custom for his other interment. The deceased, until his death, was Idi Agu, a chief, and the Abu Achio, in other words, the traditional prime minister of the great and influential Jukuns in this present-day Taraba State town of Wukari. According to an age-long custom amongst the Jukuns, when such a man dies, after his burial, a day is set aside when his chieftaincy paraphernalia and those he had while as the Abu Achio will be taken to where he was finally laid to rest. Today is the day for such occasion, when the late Idi Abu, the Abu Achio's chieftaincy items, will be taken to accompany him to his graveyard. As well attended as this ceremony, it is also the height of the burial and the most sorrowful. The sad feelings in this ceremony is not necessarily for the dearly departed, but for the only man on horseback leading them in this procession. He is known in Juku land as the Upper Bendu, the equivalent of a corpse bearer. He has volunteered to be the one to carry the chieftaincy items of the late Abu Achio unaccompanied to a place called Nando, where their chiefs and kings are buried when they die. And as far as the Jukuns are concerned, it is not an easy task, rather a risky venture. It is in fact a suicidal mission, bringing what belonged to the dead to its finest place of rest in Juku land. Not all have come back alive with their horses after such missions, and the wailings and weepings, the sad faces, are all directed at him and his horse. This mascot-like masquerade is known as Akumaga, a half-man, half-beast, and comes out only on such occasion. With the upper bendu raising his finger is a sign to convey his commitment to take the great risk at the expense of his own life. Indeed, it is a sacrifice. And he's ready to face whatever opposition when he gets to Nando. His costume is also conveying the same message. The red cap explains his dangerous mission, and while his white dress is saying, "Dead already." In other words, a living dead. Part of his funeral is this ceremony. The chieftaincy materials of the late Abu Achio, now on its way to Nando, following the upper bendu, who at some point will now carry the items in his horse unaccompanied. This bush path leads to Nando. Now, after a long walk through the town, the crowd remains behind. Only a few of the luggage carriers will continue into the bush to a point where the upper bendu's journey with the horse to deliver what belonged to the dead begins. It is a ceremony for the brave and courageous. Now, only men with great strength who are brave and courageous can undertake such missions in Jukuland. The upper bendu was raising his finger up, another way of his affirmation not to disclose his experiences at Nando to anyone. In fact, if he comes back alive, whatever he saw at Nando, he must keep strictly to himself. Well, it was an art very well known by most Jukuns of the past, when they were the rulers and the lords of the Guinea and Sahel Savannah. Why not join me as we look into the great past of these influential people of central Nigeria? We call it Jukun Kwararafa. Masquerading in Jukuland is an all-male affair. They have quite a number of entertaining dance cultures. Kawukari's palace. Drummers, trumpeters, praise singers ushering his chiefs and other traditional title holders to the palace. His palace, which is sandwiched by a befitting mosque, befitting church. Every Friday, he holds brief prayer sessions with the three religious groups in his palace.
Allah muna roƙonka hali mai martaban son zama lafiya Allah ya zauna da kasansa lafiya Allah muna roƙonka Allah ka ba mu Kwararafa a zamani mai martaba yadda kyakkyawan halin sai ya sa muka samu Federal University muka samu Kwararafa University Allah ya sa a zamanin sa mu samu Kwararafa amin albarkan mu
ina bo eto bo ma kutu bigindo kuyi ina bo eto ma kutu bikicho ko ne moshon baba cho bakani kata kebe jengoka tachi de ina pianara au unda wotu bi
Greeting His Royal Majesty the Aku Kawukari is more than a bow.
Our august visitors, distinguished gentlemen, and
His Royal Majesty the Akuka is Dr. Shekarau Angiu Masa Ibi, a CON, one of the prominent royal fathers in central Nigeria and the country as a whole. While in his throne, he will be the only one sitting on the chair. The rest, including his chiefs and other title holders, remain bare-bodied on the floor. This has been an age-long custom. Although currently the Aku Kawukari is the Chancellor of the Federal University of Technology Owerri, Futo, and current Chairman of Taraba State Council of Chiefs, while on the throne the Akuka speaks and hears no other language but Jukun. The palace interpreter is Manu Jibrin Amfani, also one of the palace historian, a retired permanent secretary and presently chairman council of advisors to the Akuka.
Migrated out of Yemen in the Arabian Peninsula to Kwararafa, who were coming all together. All these tribal groups in the central country, center of Nigeria, who were all together. The perception was that we were going to reach the sea. And when the migration stopped in Kwararafa, people who are aware of the notion that we have to reach the sea became jittery. They wouldn't like to overstay. So some people started moving out. Kwararafa broke into pieces and people were moving southwards in an attempt to reach the sea. The Igalas even left from here. The Idomas dropped on the way. The Igalas moved forward. From Igala, the Igbara moved to the right. Some people moved to Benin. The migration didn't reach the sea. It stopped. But we were in contact with the Europeans. Some historians said so, that we were in contact with the Europeans.
The bulk of the Jukuns today are in present-day Taraba State. This town of Wukari, located eastwards from the Upper River Benue port town of Ibi, also in Taraba State, Nigeria. There are other towns of the Jukuns in Taraba State like Kuna and Jalingo, the capital city, but Wukari is the traditional headquarters town of all Jukuns, both at home and in the diaspora.
From the roll call of Kwararafa, people of Kwararafa extraction were in 27 out of 36 states of the Federation. We occupy central Nigeria, the geographical central Nigeria, not middle belt, middle belt is even small for our purpose. From Yobe down to Zaria and some certain lower portions of Kano, extending to Niger, and even going into Benin Republic, down to the southern states, Cross River, Arochukwu, Enugu, and the rest, down to even parts of Niger Delta. People of Kwararafa origin. So you can see that we form maybe 2/3 of this country. And we are the pivot or the fulcrum of this nation. It is we that make people from the north to lead this country. It is we who make people from the south lead this country. So we are the most relevant part of this nation.
Like most other kings and kingdoms of the Niger, the march about the Jukuns was in the past. Very influential and great historic, the Jukuns were the rulers of the legendary Kwararafa Empire. They had greater control of the ancient communities in the Guinea and Sahel Savannah states of central Nigeria, and even to the far northern states. This Nigerian elder statesman from Kano, Dr. Maitama Sule, the Damasenin Kano, will shed more light.
These Jukuns, otherwise known as Kwararafa, went to various parts of the north, of northern Nigeria, what is now northern Nigeria. As I said earlier, they were warlike, brave people, and they conquered almost every part of the north that they went to. And they left, in some places, their traces behind. For example, in Zaria, there is the Tudun Jukum. They conquered Zaria and they left their trace behind. And one hill in Zaria city was named after them, Tudun Jukum. It's still there. In their warmongering, they came to Kano and they conquered Kano. I cannot remember the exact date, but they did conquer Kano. But typical to their habit, their character, they left. In the case of Kano, they said they would be returning. They lived in a quarter today called Yakase. And Yakase, we are told, is the Jukun language, meaning we are coming back. Yakase.
The crocodile is a totem to the Jukuns.
Totemism is a practice very well known in African kingdoms. Objects, animals, or things they respect in their own lifetime And that when you want to trace the connection of links among groups and clans, one of the areas you test is totem. What is the significant animal or the significant object this group of people, no matter how scattered they are, respect? You can use totem to trace them.
As ferocious as this river wild beast, it is a sacred animal in Jukun land. They still live in this pond. During the wet season, many of the crocodiles come out of their hidings and crawl around.
This place is called Bumpa. Bumpa. Yes. It is also one of the spirits, as we told you there. Whether during during hard times, war, droughts, and other things, this Kwararafa also protects the Jukuns. Like we said earlier, when a woman is barren, is not giving birth, then they'll come here and fetch this small part of this water. She'll drink, she'll give birth.
Up to now?
Up to now, up to tomorrow. The festival is celebrated every year.
Okay.
Here. Okay. Yes. The priest that perform these rituals, the woman and the man. There are so many things that are sacrificed here, and nobody takes any sacrificial food home. No. Everything finishes here. In fact, they kill big cow, so many things, but everything will finish here.
It was said that the crocodiles followed the Jukuns in their migrations centuries past from Yemen and Egypt to settle and live with them here in Wukari. And not too long ago, the crocodiles were said to have left their ponds one Friday morning to pay homage to their kuka and return to their pond without doing harm to no one as they crawl up and down the streets to and through the palace.
That in those days, every Friday they pay homage to His Majesty. They go there. They crocodiles, yes. Even recently, if you add the Igbos here, they'll tell you. Recently, about 2 or 3 years ago.
I mean, they will come out and line up.
The way we lined up.
Barrister Chris Abongabe, one of the leading legal practitioners in Jos, a journalist and publisher, is a Jukun.
In Enugu, there are Jukuns. In Ebonyi, there are Jukuns. In Anambra, there are Jukuns. In Abia, there are Jukuns. Part of Imo, because of the Arochukwu extension, you find Jukuns in Imo. In Suka, the Galas. If I'm talking to you about the Kwararafa, the Galas and the Jukuns, the Galas are in Suka now. Okay. Onitsha, the stool of Onitsha is not Igbo now. The stool of Onitsha, 2 classes, one from Benin lineage and one from the Gala lineage. The Okaibu is from the Gala lineage. The president of Onitsha is from the Benin lineage. None is an Igbo. In fact, if you speak to an Onitsha man and call him Onyebo, he feels offended. They don't think they are Igbos. Then you know that statement, Onyebo. They feel offended. I met a professor who told me. They say they are not Igbos. But that is the history.
The legendary Jukuns of the past ruled Kwararafa Empire, which had several kingdoms under their command. The then Akuka was the emperor of the great and mighty Kwararafa. So many wars the empire fought with its kingdoms. One of such kingdoms was the Nupe kingdom. The Nupes of present-day Niger State were a part of the Kwararafa, another formidable trading kingdom of its times. With the numerous wars it fought against this great woman warrior of our times during pre-colonial Nigeria, Queen Amina of the Zaria Kingdom. The Nupes are traditionally governed by the Etsu dynasty. The reigning Etsu Nupe is Alhaji Yahaya Abubakar.
And Nupe was part of Kwararafa, they will be moving, and then you see the moving of people will depend on the occasion and condition that move people from time to time. And then see, in those days when the Kwararafa entity was there, they identified as part of Kwararafa. Now, what are we calling, Nupe? We are talking on state level now. We are talking of Niger State, Kwara State, Kogi State, and other Nupes in diaspora. So
these other great historic highlanders, the Ibiras of present-day Okene in Kogi State, were amongst the frontline kingdoms in the historic Kwararafa. Today, they are traditionally governed by the Ohinoyi Ibira. And then the indomitable Igalas of present-day Kogi State, Nigeria, were also another frontline kingdom in the great historic Kwararafa, today governed by the Ata dynasty. The raid in Ata recounts one of their early encounters with the Jukuns.
The war with the Jukun is quite outstanding, and is more historical because we are an extended stock of the Jukun family, the great Kwararafa kingdom. Then my ancestors broke away from there, decided to come southward and then establish the Igala kingdom. Then we were paying homage to them in terms of tobacco and other things and so on. And suddenly Atai Bominako refused to pay. He said he gathered cow dung and some other things, poisoned some tobacco leaf and sent to them. So they decided to teach us a lesson by coming to remove us, wipe the Igala people from the face of the map.
And what happened?
We looked inward, so to say. We consulted oracles. That's what we did those days to save our skin. And then it was discovered that through divination, that Jukun will come through the east there. There's a small stream by the hill. Then we knew that yes, by the time they will arrive either here, it will be towards evening. Definitely they will not start a war when the sun is going down. They would like to camp in that place until early morning. Then we somehow concocted some potent herbal medicine, and then we poisoned the river. When they will travel that length and come here, they would like to drink, refresh themselves for the attack in the morning. And if you knew the Jukun army, they are not, they ravage the whole central Nigeria. They are a thorough force. They have their infantry, they have their long spears, and they have their very, very strong, able-bodied arrow archers who are there to pick out anybody who decides to confront them. And above all, their back, the last line of defense, is populated by their masquerades. About 4 of them, very powerful masquerades. So even a soldier armed then, seeing the masquerade, will be afraid and turn to his cheese. So we planned for them. As we predicted, they came towards evening. They camped at the river side, that's in Achalo there, on the way to the Polytechnic there. Then they started to drink, refresh themselves, while our own soldiers, who are just arrow men and people infantry, who have no horses by then, were hidden in the bush on treetops. So when they drank the water, after about 10-15 minutes, They started clutching their stomachs. Then our people said that yes, the potent this has taken effect. Then they descended on them and then started killing them one by one. That's how we defeated the army. Based on strength, we couldn't have withstood the Jukun army in its full force, face to face. But during poisoning that river, to tell you how good our people were at herbal medicine, they removed the odor. Because if you are drinking water that is smelly, you surely suspect that something must have been added. They removed the odor. They killed the fish. They even removed color. So we, in our own, if the other people don't recognize us, we now tell them that the first chemical warfare was performed during the Jukun War in West Africa here by the Igala people.
This is the Inachelo River in Ida. Fishing on the Inachelo is prohibited till date. And the statue of the Ata's daughter by name Princess Omodoko, who was sacrificed for their war with the Jukuns during the 15th century. But the Jukuns disagree. Their ancestral warriors never came to fight a war with the Igalas.
The Jukuns did not fight Igala. The Igalas left here to go down to where they are now. They migrated like every migratory trend. The Domas, the Igbiras, the Igalas, they all migrated from Kwararafa. And having migrated, they still pay obeisance to the central authority of the Apuka. They were sending yearly tributes. In one of the years, one of the Atas that came to the throne, through ill advice or counsel from his councillors, decided to decline sending the tribute, yearly tribute. And as if that was not enough, instead of not sending the tribute, he decided to send the rubbish in sacks. Instead of the normal tribute of products or meat or thing that he could send, he could send rubbish in some sacks. When they were brought to Ukari, the sacks were opened and the Aku found that they were rubbish. He said, why should an Ata do this? He was going to send people to go and find out. And normally those they send are supposed to be fighting men, because they may encounter difficulties on the way, so they are fighting men, they always send. When he heard that the Aku was going to send people, he thought they were going to send people to fight them. So he got a counsel from some outside diviners who told him, he said, you cannot fight the Aku. The only way you can escape his attack is to sacrifice your only daughter, Omodokun. You killed her, burnt her, and used the powder to make some poison that you can pour on River Enechalo, which is in that. And that he complied. When the something was prepared for him, he poured it on the river. The Jukun men that came, before they could enter the town, there was a stream, that river, they needed to drink from it. So when they drank, they lapped the water, they became weak. Not that they died, they became weak. When the Galas now came and saw them weak, tired, they started beating them with sticks, not weapons. So the Jukuns now went back. They didn't fight any war. They didn't kill any Jukun. So because they thought they succeeded, it was a bravery, they created a statue of the Omodokun at River Inechalo now. The Igalas, up to today, don't eat the fish from that river.
Yes.
The statue of Ilikwi that you find at the other river is Ilikwi is the daughter of one of the Atas too, that they sacrificed her for the Benin War. So those that went to fight the Benin War saw the Benin women, they were beautiful, they slept with them, they lost the war. So Ata told them, don't come back, don't cross the river, go stay at that other side. That's how you find Igalas in Ila quarters in Delta State and Ibu. Second class chief in Ibu is Igala. They didn't come back. They were the ones that went and fought the Benin War and lost. So that as they say that it's their own history, they will know it better. But that is the Elifi, not
that's the Benin people that lost.
The Igala lost the Benin War because they went and saw Benin women, they slept with them. A Jukun man will not go and fight war and sleep with the woman now. If you sleep with the woman, you lose the war.
According to the historic Kanu Chronicle, Queen Amina waged several wars with the Jukuns and the entire Kwararafa.
We went to a place called Ikara. When we got to Ikara, we said, we have entered. That's the meaning of Ikara. We have entered. It's a Jukun word. We have even our shrine there right now. So when we got to Zaria, we sent our emissaries to our scouts to find out who was the chief or the king there. And the report we had was that it's a woman. And we said, no chief, no chief. That's the meaning of Akubani. So to us, you cannot fight a woman. So when they have no chief, whom are we going to fight? We always fight their chiefs. So you understand, being a pressman, when the Jukuns went, we were asking whom that Amina was, what tribe. They said it's Gwari, what they call Baji now. And Gwari derives from Kwararafa. How can we go and fight a Kwararafa? Our daughter, and she's a woman, so we cannot fight a woman. To us, no woman can be a chief.
So what was saying,
people have written a lot of things that fitted them. So this can be corrected by oral history.
No pebeta with Agara with Lagoveta with Kuga Subazu, the corner with Tagada, and when Yas, which is with taxi worry, I want to do history to work not to say.
We cannot get the correct history of our people until our own boys start writing. You've said it, that other people didn't say, I mean, I was a king. It's only canon. Other people didn't say, I mean, I was a queen there. And we're telling you, when she was representing our people, we said we cannot fight a woman. There's no queen, there's no king. So they had no leader. People who have no leader, how can you fight them? And we named a place Kubani, no king. So if you go to Zaria now, between Tudunwada and Sabonberry, there is a marshy land, there's a bridge. That bridge is called Kubani. That's Kubani.
It was during this period when gradually Ukari also flourished. It came up again when the rain